This is a paid advertisement on behalf of Hybrid Power Solutions. What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and we're here with Francois Byrne, CEO and founder of Hybrid Power Solutions. Pleasure to have you on today, Francois. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be talking about the company. Let's first start by talking about the origin and the vision. So you founded HPS after your engineering and MBA experience and a background with hybrid race cars. Could you take us through the origin story and what was the illuminating moment or gap in the market that you saw, how the company formed, and what your long-term vision is for HPS?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the story you kind of alluded to, it started off in kind of earlier in my career, when I was racing hybrid race cars, and this was like dawn of, I guess I'm aging myself here, but this was like early on in the EV world. Tesla was still kind of a really fresh new company, small and gritty, and so thinking back then. Batteries really hadn't gotten their heyday, right? The electrification movement hadn't started. And so I was playing around with these batteries, trying to get basically these like large go-kart to run off half gas and half electric. And what I realized quickly is like the amount of torque and power you can get was far superior to whatever I had seen previously, right? You've got no transmission. It's just simple and it works kind of like just it was just like magic, right? And then I started understanding the fundamentals of it, and I realized that there's this massive gap in the market space for industrialized electric power. So that was always kind of in the back of my mind. I went out. I lived in Australia. I did my MBA there for a couple of years, traveled the world, and then came back. And that kind of little nugget of information had grown into really this inspiration for what is hybrid power solutions today. And so what I did is start coming up with all these ways of utilizing battery systems and industrial power systems to really create better performance and efficiency with no compromise. And I think that's what we've really achieved today is we have this quite a good lineup of products that really truly create a solution from 3,000 watt little kind of the size of a carry-on suitcase power stations all the way up to full sea container sized systems. But the goal is always there. It's provided better performance, save on cost, and utilize batteries to their full potential to do all that. And yeah, I think we've done a fantastic job of creating that technology.
Awesome. I love the vision. Love to hear stories like that. So let's talk about how HPS actually makes money. You're designing and manufacturing your own products and serving industrial remote backup applications. How do you describe your business model today?
Yeah, so we have a core of five products. So as I said, kind of ranging from 3,000 watts all the way up to 167,000 watts. And that gives us this flexibility to provide our customers with a full power solution. So we come into a place where, our low-hanging fruit is anytime that you're using a gasoline or diesel generator, that's who we're going after, right? We're coming after them with a fuel-free power system and or a full hybrid system. So you're a large GC, you're running billion-dollar projects, building hospitals and bridges, or a military base. You're going to come to us and say, "Hey, look, I really I need to power all these things." And we will basically use our product line to give you a full product solution. Now, what you're going to get out of that is you're going to get cost savings. Like that's our number one thing. We are going to maximize the use of battery system and hybrid systems to just like an EV kind of or in a hybrid vehicle. We're going to maximize the savings, fuel savings, so that you got lower costs on that job. You're either going to win that job or you're going to make more money on that job, right? That's just an example in the construction space. If you're talking about, for example, fleets, this is another domain that we're getting really, really involved in. So fleets is anybody who has like multiple vehicles. That can be anything from a dog grooming business, but more specifically all the way up to like utilities and network telecom guys, right? There's network companies in Canada who have 11,000 vehicles. On those vehicles, most of them have some kind of power generation station, right? They have something. They have an inverter, they have lead acid batteries, they have all these things wired into the vehicle, or they have some kind of gasoline or diesel generator on board. We come in with something that replaces all that. It's more powerful. It's got better performance. It's going to last way longer. It charges off the vehicle. So, we have a capability of actually charging right off the alternator of the vehicle when you're driving around. We have solar charging capability built in and that AC charging capability built in. So now we can displace that whole market space with something that costs very, very similar to what they're currently using, but that has all these improved performance specifications. On top of that, it's a one product solution, which means that it doesn't matter if you're driving vehicle ABC or XYZ, you're going to have the same product on there. So if there's a problem with one, if one gets in an accident, you can now swap it out. So we're seeing this massive transition within that space to our product line, and that's really exciting for us. And so, we talked to you kind of asked, how are we making money? Well, okay, obviously product sale is kind of that first too, where we create these solutions for our customers and we sell them. But there's kind of two really exciting things that we're getting more and more involved with, other than just engineering, design, build, and sale. We're getting involved with the rental and leasing side of things. So, part of our ongoing financing round is to have that capital so we can really have a inventory of units that we can rent. And might not be a direct rental, it might be a rental to a rental company that then will rent it, but it's still a rental. And the beauty of the rental space is that, or the beauty of the rental model is the amount of revenue we can generate off an asset is 4 to 10 times what we could
Mm.
on just a sale of a product, right? So and especially with our product being, something that lasts a lot longer than what's conventionally out there and not requiring maintenance, it really does, it really has that really good rental element to it. So that's something we're definitely getting more serious about. The second thing too is that we are going to be launching, and we've kind of announced this and hinted to it in multiple press releases. We're going to be launching HPS Air next year, and HPS Air is going to be basically this remote monitoring software or remote monitoring package or fleet management package, call it what you want. But it is a capability of GPS tracking every single one of our units, no matter if it's on a truck or on a construction site, and then being able to see how much solar is coming in, how much, AC input, generator if it's hooked up, even wind. We could see all those data points, and we can actually track fuel consumption as well, CO2 savings, cost savings, all that in a singular platform. And that'll be a subscription-based model. So to have access to that, because it's using cellular data, you will be paying on a per unit basis. So, it's not going to be very costly, but if you multiply that over hundreds, if not thousands of units, that is a significant amount of revenue on a monthly basis that's coming back to you on an existing asset that you've already sold or re-rent or rented to the customer. So it's really it's quite a unique opportunity.
Very interesting. So, from an investor's lens, we know the battery energy storage system market and the solar market are seeing strong growth. Could you walk us through HPS's addressable market, by geography, sector, product line, and which parts of the business do you believe will deliver the most growth in the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, it's a loaded question to a certain degree because at the end of the day, we play in so many different spaces, right? Like we talked about fleets briefly, we talked about
Mhm.
construction, and at the end of the day, wherever there's some kind of generator, like a diesel or gas generator, or in the fleet space, like an inverter, lead acid battery system, we're there. So, and we're there with something better than what's existing. And so the you're talking about multiple different market spaces. You're talking about, okay, well, let's talk about like just portable generators and as a segment. Well, that's 12.5 to almost $13 billion market segment there. But you're not really hitting, oh, well, what about industrial commercial generators? Because now we can use our larger systems, our larger battery systems on backup for buildings. It's not talking about what about the AI space and the data center space, right? Like now we're talking about with companies about doing battery backup for those data centers, right? With our systems, and it's a couple of lines of code that totally change the application, but there's none of the hardware changes that are required. So it allows us to be extremely flexible. So when we talk about total addressable market, we can take a chunk out of everything. We can take a chunk out of that battery backup data UPS space, which is massive and just hyperscalers and growing at an insane rate. We can also take a chunk out of the fleet side and the construction side, and then another really exciting segment is military. We're doing 10x our revenue in the military space this year over last year. It's nuts. And we don't see that changing anytime soon. There's just so much investment in the electrification of warfare. And it's not coming from, a place of we got to greenify this stuff or, whatever. It really comes from a place that drones and anti-drones and all these electronic radar capability and tracking capability all has a huge power demand, right? And I think this is something that most people are totally forgetting is that, yeah, it's great that you're investing in these drone companies. It's fantastic. And we're partnering up with these drone companies every single day. The the thing is, how are you going to get power to these places, right? And through our ongoing relationship with suppliers, dealers, and end customers in the defense space all over the world, we're seeing that rapid growth where people are coming to us and saying, "Hey, you know what? For every drone I buy, I need to buy one of yours too, right? One of your packs too." And whether it be for a small forward operating base where they need just one of our Backpack Pros, kind of our smaller suitcase size things with some deployable solar. We even have NATO connections, so we can actually recharge right off NATO vehicles. Um, there's that massive flexibility in using our product in places that you don't want to be using it generated because the heat signature, the noise, and the logistics, right? That's a big thing with fuel free power is that you can deploy it and forget about it, right? It's kind of up to the soldier to figure out how they're going to charge it. Is it going to be solar because it's solar out? Is it going to be a vehicle because they're working off a vehicle, or do they have some other bigger power source or grid access that they can plug it in? You don't have to worry about the fuel logistics in the background. So I can deploy an asset and not deal with all the logistics of fuel delivery to that one soldier or that one group of soldiers, right? And that's a massive cost advantage and strategic advantage. And I think that's kind of lost on most people until they start thinking about it and figure out, oh my goodness, this is a huge opportunity. So that's just one example. But as we're seeing this kind of evolve, we're seeing our larger products also being attracted by larger encampments, larger bases setups, but also for surveillance system, remote surveillance system. We're working with some companies about doing larger Spark units. These are 24 kVA systems with large solar arrays, diesel as backup, being deployed in sectors and in sections for months at a time without zero human interaction and just doing surveillance. So there's just this huge addressable market that we're trying to cover. And obviously we're a small team, so we're just trying to be really focused on what we want to go after. But kind of sky's the limit in the space, and that makes me really excited about the future of this company.
Definitely, and thank you for sharing that. So, no business is free of risk, especially in a fast-moving clean tech space. From your perspective, what are the biggest execution risks for HPS right now, and how are you and your team managing or mitigating those risks?
Yeah, so like one of the biggest risks on our side or the biggest challenges I should say is the fact that we are a capital intensive business, right? We are an engineering firm, we own IP, and we manufacture. That requires a good capital back end, right? It requires investors that believe in the future of us, believe in our growth, and that they're there to stand behind us, right? We're quoting out jobs that are in the millions and millions of dollars. If we get those, we have to buy inventory. We have to expand our facility. There is money that goes into that project, a lot of money that goes into the project, but the rewards are huge, right? We go back to it. We own that inventory. We own that IP. We owned that, we have that engineering staffing capabilities in-house. That makes us, strategic, right? We're not just a reseller. We're not just somebody who buys from China, white labels a product and sells it out. We can address small tweaks in our product that make us win a bid versus somebody else. And so I think that is going to be our major challenge is just making sure that we have the capital partners with us throughout this whole journey. And that's something I've been really proud of doing. We've got our open financing round right now, and we've got a lot of really big strategic financial partners that we're in conversations to that are understanding what this company needs to get to the next level and are getting behind us, and that's really exciting to see. But yeah, that's definitely kind of on top of my list. And then the second kind of major challenge for us is going to be sales and getting our like from an HR point of view, really getting the sales team
Mhm.
that's required. We've been doing a great job of cutting costs and expenses within the company space, but now it's kind of time to expand that sales team so that we're able to get after more of those addressable markets, that we're capable of not missing any opportunities because we're doing this with a handful of employees. A very small group of us is doing a lot of tremendous work, but we need to expand on that and really invest in them and grow that team.
It must be awesome watching your vision unfold. So thanks for sharing that. And lastly, for someone considering an investment in HPS, What are the key milestones or metrics they should watch over the next year? And what would you say is the most compelling reason for investors right now?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing to watch is obviously, repeating sales. That's a really big one. We've recently got a repeated military order, and that was fantastic to see. That kind of um, revenue generation is basically just showing you guys that we're going down the right path, right? That people are confident in what we do. They're confident not only in our product but also in our service offering. The other thing too is take a look at for the partnerships, right? Those dealership agreements, those partnership announcements, those mean a lot. And what we're trying to do is really be partners with companies who are doing something right, but that just are missing that capability that we might have, right? So we're trying to create this marriage that is beneficial for both parties, and utilizing and leveraging larger companies who have a certain grasp on the market will accelerate the speed at which we're able to get our product out there. The speed at which we can have higher volumes and improve our margins and get to profitability as quickly as possible. I think that's really our goal here at HPS is in the short term is just to get to that profitability point of view and then reinvest.
Well, thank you for sharing everything today, Francois, your vision, the story, all you've accomplished so far. Congratulations. And I look forward to covering the story. This won't be our first video, so I look forward to news. I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting year for you. So thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Aaron.